Right now, at this exact moment, you are connected. What you are connected through, most people cannot name. Your emails, your bank transfers, this video, not through satellites, not through the cloud, through a cable on the floor of the ocean. Not satellites, not the cloud, this cable, about as thick as a garden hose, running across the floor of an ocean, that no military in the world patrols for this purpose. There are over 500 of these cables crisscrossing the ocean floor. Most were laid by private companies, not governments. Most are insured for less than they cost to repair. Every single day, $10 trillion in financial transactions cross these cables, more than China's entire GDP, moving through infrastructure the diameter of your wrist. Right now, not a single military vessel's primary mission is guarding these cables. The most valuable infrastructure on Earth has no dedicated protection force, anywhere. One submarine, one cutting device, 90 minutes. Every major power has dozens of them. The US Navy has 68, Russia 64, China 79. All can reach cable depths. And the most connected civilization in human history goes dark. Not a cyber attack, not a satellite shot down, a physical cut in the ocean floor. Seconds to make, weeks to repair. This is the infrastructure story nobody is telling. Not because it isn't known, it is. It's in classified briefings and congressional testimony. The gap is between knowing and doing. To understand the threat, you first need to understand what these cables are, and how the most critical infrastructure on Earth ended up on the ocean floor, owned by private companies, protected by a law written in 1884. The story of undersea cables is not new. The first transatlantic telegraph cable was laid in 1858. It worked for 23 days before it failed. Queen Victoria sent the first message to President Buchanan. It took 16 hours to transmit 98 words. In 1866, the SS Great Eastern finally succeeded. A message sent in London was read in New York before the sender had left the building. The world changed overnight, and almost nobody understood why. From that one cable, over 160 years, humanity laid more than 500 separate undersea cable systems, stretching 1.3 million kilometers across every ocean. Enough cable to wrap around the Earth 33 times. Today's cables are a marvel of engineering. The core is optical fibers, each thinner than a human hair, carrying terabits of data per second using pulses of light. New York to London, 60 milliseconds. The light pulse travels at 2/3 the speed of light. A single modern cable carries more than 200 terabits per second, enough bandwidth to download every song ever recorded. In about 3 seconds, more information per second than all the world's radio towers combined. 7 distinct layers. Outermost, polyethylene, then steel wire armor against fishing nets and anchors, then a copper conductor carrying 10,000 volts of DC power to keep the repeaters running, because without that power, the fiber goes dark. At the center, the fiber optic bundle itself, often just 8 strands of glass. 8 strands that carry the entire internet of a continent. The steel armor protecting them weighs 40 times more than the fibers it protects. These cables cross some of the most extreme terrain on Earth. Average depth, 3,500 meters. Some descend to 8,000, deeper than Mount Everest is tall. At those depths, water pressure is 800 times atmospheric. The repair equipment that can reach there barely exists. People assume the internet runs on satellites. It does not. Satellite internet has 10 times the latency of undersea cables. For financial trading, a 10 millisecond advantage in execution is worth $100 million per year to a major trading firm. The entire high-frequency trading industry was built around the speed of these cables. Even cloud computing runs on physical cable. Amazon Web Services, Google, Microsoft Azure. When you access a file in a data center in Virginia from Tokyo, that data travels through an undersea cable. The cloud has no physical location. The cables do. The number that should stop you cold, more than 95%. The share of all international internet traffic moving through undersea cables, confirmed by NATO's own Secretary General in January 2025. Elon Musk's Starlink has 6,000 satellites. Total satellite capacity, roughly 5% of what cables carry. The physics will not permit satellites to replace them. The cables don't land at military facilities or government buildings. They come ashore at cable landing stations, often unmarked industrial buildings near beaches. There are approximately 1,300 worldwide. Most have no dedicated armed security. Almost completely unguarded. A single security camera, maybe a fence. The physical choke point of the global financial system. Indistinguishable from a telecom office. In 2011, a 75-year-old Georgian woman digging for copper scrap with a spade cut off the internet to all of Armenia. She found the cable by accident. This artery of civilization, about the diameter of a garden hose in deep water. The copper pipe under your kitchen sink has more physical protection than the cable carrying your country's financial system. Most cable breaks are not caused by sabotage. The leading cause is ship anchors, roughly 25% of all cable faults. Around 200 occur per year globally. In 2002, one container ship accidentally severed 3 of the 4 cables, connecting the United States to Europe. Repairs take weeks. The repair ship locates the break using light pulse testing, a technique unchanged since the 1870s, then sails to the location, deploys grappling equipment, hauls the cable from thousands of meters, splices, relays, the entire process, 30 to 60 days, during which whoever cut it waits. 60 cable repair ships in the entire world, the same number as a decade ago. While the cable network has grown 25%, there are more astronauts currently in orbit than repair ships in the North Atlantic. Median repair time, 40 days, rising. If multiple cables are cut simultaneously, the queue stretches to months. You now understand what these cables are, how they work, how thin the margin of safety is. Now let's look at where they go, and at who actually owns them, because that is where governments have been most reluctant to look closely. This is the map that runs the world. Every line is a live cable system carrying the data of nations. Most people have never seen this map. The US Department of Defense has publicly complained that telegeography's cable map is too detailed. Governments prefer it stays hidden. The Atlantic alone has over 24 cable systems, the heaviest traffic corridor on Earth. The Maria cable, jointly owned by Microsoft and Facebook, carries 160 terabits per second. Any disruption here would trigger immediate market instability. Not because markets would stop, but because the speed advantage that makes algorithmic trading possible would disappear. Who owns these cables? Increasingly, it is not telecom companies. It is not governments. It is the same companies whose products you use every day, who have no legal obligation to defend the infrastructure their profits depend on. Google alone owns or co-owns more than 20 undersea cable systems. Meta owns or funds another 15. Amazon has its own global private cable network. These 4 companies now control infrastructure that carries military communications, intelligence data, and the global financial system, owned by companies answerable to shareholders, not voters. 30 years ago, shared infrastructure, owned by international telecom consortiums. No single point of corporate control. Today, a handful of Silicon Valley companies own the pipes their competitors also need to use, and the pipes that Western governments send classified communications through. The same cable, government secrets and cat videos. Google's 2 Africa cable circles the entire African continent. 45,000 kilometers, 33 countries, more capacity than all existing cables serving Africa combined. A single American company controlling the digital infrastructure of 1.4 billion people. When that cable was announced, no African government was consulted as a condition of approval. Then there is China. Huawei Marine Networks, renamed HMN Technologies after US sanctions, has become the world's third largest cable installer. In 2020, the US pressured Palau not to use HMN for its cable to Hawaii. Palau agreed. 11 other Pacific nations did not. American intelligence officials have testified before Congress that Chinese-built cables present surveillance risks, that fiber optic cables can be tapped at the repeater level. What they did not say in open session, the United States does exactly the same thing. The tap doesn't break the cable. A prism-like device at the repeater copies a fraction of the light signal, invisible to sender and receiver. The collection vessel doesn't even need to touch the cable. It can sit on the surface 4,000 meters above and harvest everything passing through the repeater below. The United States has been doing this for decades. The USS Jimmy Carter is a Seawolf-class submarine, modified specifically for undersea cable operations. Its actual capabilities remain classified. Its purpose has never been officially confirmed. Its purpose has never been seriously denied. Russia's actions are less subtle. NATO has tracked Russian military research vessels repeatedly loitering over critical cable routes, not passing through. Loitering, stationary over cable locations for days at a time, near Svalbard, the Irish Sea, the Mediterranean. The Yentar, Russia's so-called oceanographic research vessel, carries deep-sea submersibles capable of descending to cable depths, tracked loitering over critical cable routes over 30 times in a decade. It was tracked near undersea cables off the U.S. East Coast in 2015, during the first Ukraine crisis. No one stopped it. International law did not require anyone to. The UK's GCHQ operates its largest surveillance program directly through cable landing stations in Cornwall. Operation Tempora, revealed by Edward Snowden, tapped 200 fiber optic cables simultaneously. The companies that owned those cables were forbidden by law from revealing the arrangements existed. Some were reportedly paid for their cooperation. The European Court of Human Rights ruled it unlawful in 2018. The program continued under new legal authority. Overlay ownership, surveillance, and military positioning, and you get a picture no single government wants the public to see. Every major power is tapping these cables. Every major power is mapping them. The cables themselves have no idea. The backbone of the global internet is a contested, surveilled, and extremely fragile battle space. Taiwan, 23 million people, 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductor manufacturing, 14 international undersea cables, designed in buildings connected to the internet by cables that China has been systematically testing for cutting, every one of them targeted at least once since 2023. Chinese military planning documents describe Taiwan cable severance as phase 1 of any blockade operation. Cut the cables first. Isolate the island informationally. Then move. An island that cannot communicate with the outside world cannot coordinate its defense, cannot call for international help, cannot tell anyone what is happening. The first casualty of a Taiwan conflict would be Taiwan's internet. In February 2025, Taiwan seized the Hong Tai 58, a Chinese crewed vessel that had cut the TP-CAM-3 cable connecting the Penghu Islands. The ship had broadcast 3 different vessel identities to evade tracking. In June 2025, a Tainan court sentenced the captain to 3 years, the first criminal conviction for deliberate undersea cable sabotage anywhere in the world. The captain is in prison. Who ordered it, still unknown. January 2022. Tonga lost its single undersea cable to a volcanic eruption. The entire country, no internet for 5 weeks. Disaster coordination, banking, communications all gone. Aid ships navigated to the island without GPS routing. The country had to coordinate tsunami warnings by satellite phone. Tonga is the template. One cable. What intentional looks like. In early 2024, Houthi attacks in the Red Sea damaged 3 major undersea cables, disrupting internet for 25 countries. Then September 2025, a commercial ship's anchor severed 4 more simultaneously. Microsoft Azure went down across 3 continents. Not a missile, an anchor. The Houthis publicly stated they were deliberately avoiding cutting all cables, because doing so would isolate Yemen itself. They understand this infrastructure better than most Western commentators. Egypt, 25% of bandwidth gone overnight. India's international traffic slowed. East African banking systems degraded. In September 2025, for cables cut by a single anchor. Took down Microsoft Azure across 3 continents. This is what a partial disruption looks like. This is not the worst case. This is Tuesday. The Baltic Sea, 15 confirmed pipeline and cable incidents. Between 2022 and 2026. Not in a decade, in 4 years. Nord Stream in 2022. Still officially unexplained. 2 cables in November 2024, Chinese-flagged vessel. 5 cables on Christmas Day 2024, Russian Shadow Fleet. 2 more on New Year's Eve 2025. The frequency is not coincidence. The lack of consequences is policy. The Yipeng 3 dropped anchor and dragged it 160 kilometers, severing both cables. The ship sat in the Danish Straits for 33 days, while 4 NATO navies demanded access. China refused for a month. When boarding was permitted, Chinese investigators controlled access. NATO charges 0. Crew questioned 0. Ship released. Deny. Delay. Depart. A playbook used in the Baltic, used around Taiwan. It works because the law doesn't stop it. Every major power is operating in, surveilling, or threatening the undersea cable network. The US taps through submarines. Russia maps through research vessels. China cuts through cargo ships. GCHQ accesses through cable landing stations. All of them use the same network. None of them want it destroyed. All of them want to control who can use it, and under what conditions. That is not a contradiction. It is the strategy. Christmas Day 2024. A tanker dragged its anchor 100 kilometers through the Gulf of Finland, severing a power cable and 4 data cables simultaneously. Finland mobilized within hours. Armed teams boarded the vessel. The first time any NATO nation had physically seized a ship for cable sabotage. Captain and 2 officers charged. The precedent was set in December. The next test came on New Year's Eve. Fitberg, 2 more cables. Helsinki to Tallinn, seized the same day. On February 24th, 2025, a Chinese journal published specifications of a deep-sea cable cutting device. 150mm diamond grinding wheel. Titanium construction. Capable of severing armored cables at 4,000 meters. Twice the maximum depth of any cable on Earth. No cable is beyond its reach. China's stated purpose, civilian salvage. Bonnie Glaser of the German Marshall Fund asked the question. Every analyst was thinking. Beijing insists it isn't responsible for cutting undersea cables. So why did it just unveil a powerful deep-sea cable cutter? No answer. The depth that was once a natural protection is gone. You now know who owns these cables, who is watching them, who is cutting them, and why governments are terrified you'll find out. But ownership and surveillance are only half the story. The other half is geography. There are 5 places on this map where a single coordinated attack could take 70% of the global internet offline within 6 hours. 5 locations, every cable on Earth forced through them. In part 2, we go to each one.